for starting your week with us. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. Coming up on today's edition of Business Daily. Korea's product safety watchdog confirms that problems with Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 were due to its battery structure and manufacturing issues. Volkswagen Korea begins its recall process of 27,000 Tiguan SUVs, but this is also expected to cause some headaches for existing VW owners on the resale value of their cars. These stories and more coming right up. But first, Samsung Electronics says it's withdrawing its membership from the Federation of Korean Industries. That makes it the first Samsung company to officially submit its intention to pull out of the 600-member organization and the second big name to give up membership after LG Group. Samsung, along with Hyundai Motor, SK, and LG Group, account for 70% of the Federation's annual membership fees. Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong had said that he would withdraw the company from the FKI during a parliamentary hearing in December. The FKI, the country's largest business lobby group, is suspected to have pressed member companies to make large donations to two government-linked foundations controlled by the president's confidant, Choi Soon-sil. An FKI representative testified in court last month that the presidential office instructed it to solicit the donations. And the Korean government has found that flaws in batteries caused fires in certain Samsung Galaxy Note 7 smartphones, which led to a costly global recall and the product's discontinuation. Now, the findings do match up closely with Samsung's own probe results. Our Kim Min-ji has more.
The Korean government says battery structure and manufacturing errors caused the fires in some of Samsung's Galaxy Note 7 smartphones. The findings come after the Korea Agency for Technology and Standards launched a probe with the Korea Testing Laboratory. The investigation looked into both smartphones that had caught fire, as well as devices and batteries that operated normally. It also examined smartphones and batteries that showed excessive swelling during charging and discharging tests conducted by the manufacturers. The team said that in the batch of batteries from the first recall, they found a flaw in the battery design which caused compression, while in the replacement devices, they found that insulation material was absent in some of the batteries. The team added that all tests showed the internal structure of the handset and software were not the source of the fire. Results showed that in devices with normal batteries, relevant software operated when the device heated up, and the phone did not explode even under external pressure. The results are largely in line with Samsung's findings last month, which concluded that the fires were caused by design flaws and manufacturing issues. The company terminated production in October of the handset just 2 months after its launch, following reports of both the original and replacement devices catching fire. Samsung has implemented a broad range of internal quality and safety procedures to prevent any recurrences, and the government is vowed to strengthen safety measures as well. It says it will step up monitoring to find any faults in batteries during the manufacturing process and improve safety procedures before future smartphone models are sold. The government also plans to continue safety inspections after devices hit the market. Kim Min-ji, Business Daily.
Korean companies are making greater use of the country's 15 free trade agreements in effect with 52 countries around the world. According to Korea Customs Service, the utilization rate of the free trade pacts for exports was an average 72% last year, up 0.3 percentage point, while that of imports was slightly higher at around 73%. Korea's dependency on the trade agreements was particularly high in shipments to the European Union, followed by Chile and the U.S. In terms of sector, auto-related industries exporting machinery as well as plastics and rubbers saw the biggest gains. The Korean equity market rose slightly on the first session of the week, but the overall picture still seems to be mixed. We're now joined by our markets contributor Choi Jin-seok to talk about stock market performance and upcoming market events. Hello, Jin-seok.
Great to be here.
All right, so how did the Korean stock market close on the first day of the week?
Both the Kospi and the Kosdaq market didn't move much on the first day of the week. The Kospi rose by 0.22% to close at 2077.66, while the Kosdaq followed with a 0.2% uptick to close at 610. The Kospi market opened with a decent rally touching 2088 in early hours, helped by strong U.S. market performance on Friday. However, the market lost most early gains as retail investors and foreigners sold shares. By sectors, securities, financial, and food and beverage companies performed well, while steel, chemicals, and tech shares were sluggish. Financials got a boost as the new Trump administration decided to loosen regulations in its financial industry. The Kosdaq market once fell into negative territory but rebounded to close in positive territory.
Then what are some of the market events lined up for this week? I mean, it doesn't seem like that we have a lot of economic data coming out this week.
That's right, but we still need to keep a close eye on other types of global events for this week. First, China's January foreign reserves reported on Tuesday are expected to draw a lot of attention from investors. The country's foreign reserves have been gradually decreasing due to capital outflows caused by yuan depreciation. If the figures are reported below $3 trillion, it could raise concerns among global investors. One positive thing is that experts cautiously project as the value of the Chinese yuan has been increasing following a weakening US dollar, the foreign reserves may not have decreased last month. Morgan Stanley, for example, projects reserves increased by $400 million in January.
So after the latest FOMC over in the United States, expectations for a rate hike in March have been lowered somewhat. So along with global monetary policies, what are some of the other market factors that might heighten volatility in Korean market?
First of all, key Fed officials will deliver speeches after the latest FOMC meeting. Philadelphia Fed President Patrick Harker, St. Louis Fed President James Bullard, Chicago Fed President Charles Evans, and Fed Vice Chair Stanley Fischer are in the list. Fed Chair Janet Yellen said in her speech last month that the Fed expects to raise interest rates a few times this year. So it will be interesting to see if other Fed heavyweights agree on her stance. The options expiration date on the Korean equity market is on Thursday, and the event may heighten volatility throughout the market as well. Experts cautiously forecast that a look at option positioning among foreign investors could give a boost to the Korean market.
So I think it's fair for us to say that a certain level of uncertainty is still here in the market because of Donald Trump, right? So what should investors keep in mind in this respect?
In terms of the Korean equity market, we had both positive and negative catalysts last week. Political uncertainty both from home and overseas have spooked the overall sentiment. Meanwhile, robust export numbers have helped limit further declines. Experts expect such trends will continue at least for a while. Uncertainty surrounding the new U.S. administration can still hurt global financial markets. The U.S. market, for example, has reacted very sensitively to actions from U.S. President Donald Trump since taking office. This week, Trump faces a deadline to submit the government's budget request to Congress on Monday local time. How smoothly this process goes between the administration and lawmakers will be important going forward.
And such uncertainty definitely triggered massive unloading by foreign investors in the Korean market. So what do you think might help to reverse this negative trend?
Expectations for better corporate earnings can be a positive catalyst in the near term. With 145 companies reporting Q4 earnings until last week, experts see Korean companies have improved their performance compared to the last 5 years. Therefore, the Q4 earnings season is expected to serve as positive momentum on the Korean market this week. The overall sentiment among foreigners has not been bad at all. For the first time ever, the total amount of local stocks held by foreign investors has surpassed 500 trillion won mark. The Financial Supervisory Service on Monday said that foreign investors owned $440.7 billion worth of local stocks as of the end of last month. The figure shows a significant hike from $354 billion, and the rise is attributed to steady foreign capital inflow amid the recovering global economy and the improving sales performance of firms such as Samsung Electronics. Therefore, once uncertainty fades away, we're likely to see foreigners returning to the market.
All right, thank you so much for that, and we'll be hearing from you on Friday.
Thank you.
Audi Volkswagen Korea has begun the recall of its SUV, the Tiguan, as of today. Last month, Korea's Ministry of Environment had approved the company's proposal to correct the defeat device issue. While it's good news for the German automaker, the recall is also handing some concerns to existing Volkswagen owners on the resale value of their cars. Our Eunice Kim explains.
Hundreds of imported vehicles line a car park near Pyeongtaek Port in Gyeonggi-do Province. They are the Audis and Volkswagens that were not sold since Korea's Environment Ministry canceled their vehicle registration last August. But starting today, the German carmaker will begin to recall 27,000 Volkswagen Tiguan 2.0 TDIs. A 30-minute software fix designed to correct the defeat device issue would put the cars in line with Environment Ministry emissions and fuel efficiency guidelines and on their way to re-enter the market.
Once certified by the ministry, they will be approved for sale.
As most of these vehicles have been sitting idle for 6 months or longer, they'll likely be sold at a lower price point. On top of that, industry sources expect Audi Volkswagen to hold a blockbuster sale on new vehicles, which will inevitably trickle down to further undercut the price of the used German cars.
The price of a used car is determined by the price of the new car, so a discounted new vehicle will further drop the price of used ones.
We were already hit once with last year's sales ban. I'm worried we are going to be hit again with the new round of cars.
In fact, data from the used car app Hey Dealer shows that demand for Audi and Volkswagen used cars dropped significantly last year after the sales ban, but then showed sporadic signs of recovery. While Audi Volkswagen has not announced plans on what it will do with the cars that receive the Environment Ministry's green light, existing owners, as well as the domestic used car market, are already bracing for the worst. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
Korea has confirmed this year's first case of a foot and mouth disease at a dairy farm on Monday. According to the Chungcheongbuk-do provincial government, 195 cows at a farm in Poeun, located roughly 180 kilometers southeast of Seoul, tested positive for the animal disease. The government said there's a high probability that milk produced on this farm had already been distributed to the market. But health authorities explained that this should not be a cause for concern since the animal disease does not affect humans. It added that on top of slaughtering all the affected cows, a province-wide vaccination will be carried out across some 1,000 farms raising cows and pigs. The amount of fish caught by Korean fishermen has slumped to a low not seen in decades. Korea's Maritime Institute cited a number of reasons for the decline, including global warming and illegal fishing by Chinese vessels. Our Kim Jong-soo has the details.
In its annual report released on Monday, the Korea Maritime Institute said 923,000 tons of fish were caught by Korean crews last year. That's an almost 13% drop from the previous year, and is even below the existing low of 950,000 tons recorded in 1972. The institute says the drop can be mainly attributed to a significant decrease in the amount of fishery resources available. It estimates that the figure for 2016 has dropped by over 38% compared to 1972. In its report, the institute pointed to a number of reasons for the resources decline, with the main cause being the frequent violation of South Korean waters by Chinese fishing boats, as well as rapid changes in the marine ecosystem caused by global warming. The institute estimates that illegal fishing by Chinese vessels could have accounted for losses ranging from anywhere between 100,000 to 650,000 tons in 2016. South Korea's Fisheries Ministry added to Monday's report, saying that Chinese vessels have become more and more sophisticated in their fishing methods. For instance, Chinese vessels have stationed themselves in North Korean waters to intercept squid heading down south, essentially cutting off the supply of squid in South Korean waters. The vessels also reportedly use illegal fishing techniques, oftentimes catching both the mother fish and her offspring, with no respect for maritime regulations. The report also said that the record low catch has played a part in fresh seafood prices rising more than 3%, which is much higher than the average 1% increase for all consumer goods. The South Korean government expects that things will look different this year, however, as the two countries signed a crucial fisheries agreement on December 30th, in which Beijing vowed to take additional measures to crack down on illegal fishing in South Korean waters. Kim Jung-soo, Business Daily.
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.